Might be fine.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to call the Common Council to order. I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Haas.
Here.
Halverson.
Here.
Kane. Here. Novak. Here. Noling. Here. Rote.
Here.
Turner.
Here.
Weigel.
Here.
Grisham. Here. Grobe. Here. 10 present.
We have a quorum. Please rise if you are able and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led this evening by Alderman Haas. So we have 5 public hearings this evening, and I'm reading very slowly so our city administrator can get set up at the table to help present the first public hearing. So when you're ready, if you can introduce public hearing number 1.
Sure. 2025 City of West Allis Mayor's Recommended Budget.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to staff.
Okay. He won't make any remarks then. No, just to go over what our vision and mission is for the City of West Allis as we put together the budget, we consider this as well as the strategic plan, goals and objectives. So our vision is to become the preferred municipality for visitors, residents, and businesses, and then provide cost-effective services, provide for the health, safety, and welfare, and provide a quality living and working environment and then use creative approaches to our operations. And these are the strategic plan focus areas: community, destination, finance, infrastructure, and organizational excellence. We also, when we put the budget together, the mayor has certain priorities that he wishes to focus on, and these are the budget priorities for the 2025 budget: pedestrian safety and reckless driving, rodent abatement, outdoor amenities, community engagement, and an investment in our employees. For the first initiative, the pedestrian safety and reckless driving, we'll be focusing on having a reckless driving deterrence campaign with the police department, the traffic calming and safety enhancements from engineering department, and comprehensive bicycle and pedestrian plans from our planning department. A little bit more about the reckless driving campaign. The initiatives will be approximately 2 to 4 hour deployments per month, with a goal of 8,000 traffic stops annually, in continued use of the flock cameras, continued use of the negligent operation of vehicle enforcement, and then also having our residents share online reporting and videos when they do encounter reckless driving, so that the police department can investigate that. The traffic calming and safety enhancements, we're looking at prioritizing areas where there's high crash rates, areas by schools, and also around parks or where there's high pedestrian activity, using both construction but also the pavement paint, which you'll see out here on Greenfield Avenue. We have included in the capital improvement budget dedicated to traffic calming and safety enhancements. And then just a note from our city engineer that stop signs do not stop speeding. So, she wanted that on every slide, but we just left it to this one. And here's some examples of the traffic calming that you might have seen around the city. And then we'll move on to our comprehensive bicycle and pedestrian plan, looking at focusing on safety and slowing down the speeds for cars, making our municipality the best for walking and biking in Milwaukee County, looking at enhancing our public transit access, and turning the streets into places where people can enjoy, and looking at implementing new technologies and clean energy options for people when that's possible. And then moving on to the next initiative, rodent abatement. There's different aspects to that. In the past years, we've done a lot of baiting, and last year we implemented birth control. We've done a lot of enforcement. This year we're continuing those initiatives, but looking at some innovative programs, such as something called the Cheetah, where there's carbon monoxide put into burrows to help extinguish the rodents, also looking at catching and extinguishing them, and then immediate collection for garbage and recycling, which keeps that food source away from the rodents. Here's a little bit about the details regarding the birth control and the complaints we've had. In 2023, there were 209 complaints. So far, 2024, we've had 203, sent over 3,000 pieces of educational information out to residents. The ContraPest is the birth control. You can see there we put it in 52 bait stations this year, and then the regular bait stations we had 193 this year. We're looking at increasing some of the funding and enforcement. Since the start of the program, we put in at least $52,000 into that. So we're looking at increasing the number of summary abatement orders that we send for the rodent garbage removal, increase the number of work orders for people to clean up around their garages and alleyways, and then there's support in the budget for that through CDBG and grants from the Wisconsin Department of Human Services. A little bit more about the Innovative program. So in different municipalities around the country, they've used the carbon monoxide as an effective way to control rodents. Again, you inject the exhaust into the burrows, and then it's a $2,000 to $3,000 cost for the machines. So be purchasing a few of them, and then also looking at how we could catch and extinguish the rodents also. The immediate collection for garbage recycling is is a pretty significant change. It has to do with, instead of doing special pickups or allowing people to put garbage and recycling outside their containers for no charge, we would pick them up immediately, but there would be a $50 charge for anything left outside their garbage or recycling cart. The effective date would be January 1st, but the actual enforcement date would be looking at April 1st, just to give us time to put out a communication plan and notify residents of the changes. The key changes are staff will remove the items outside of the carts, but fees will be added to the property tax owner bills. So the goal of this is, first and foremost, to reduce waste issues and rodent infestations, and then improve the neighborhood, increase efficiency. Right now, there's a lot of administrative time spent if people are cited, or if we have to go out there multiple times with supervisors. It costs a lot of money, also reducing staff injuries, and then the people that are utilizing the service would be paying additional money for that. So here's a little bit about that, broken down a little differently. So outside cart pickup for less than 1 cubic yard, right now there's no fee. We pick up up to 150 pounds at no cost. The proposal is that a fee would be charged for items outside of 2 carts, but we would pick them up immediately and then charge them. And each dwelling could have up to 2 garbage carts and 2 recycling carts. So the first less than 4 cubic yards would be $50, and then 4 to 8 would be $100, and then anything over 8 cubic yards would be actual cost. And then the brush remains free for 1 cubic yard, but then goes to $50 and $100 for the cubic yards listed. And then the heavy item charge would just be $50 per item. We did a review of other municipalities. There's 3 that have outside cart pickup allowed for no cost. That's Milwaukee, West Milwaukee, and Greendale. The other municipalities either charge or do not allow it whatsoever, and those are the municipalities that are listed there. Here's a little more detail about each of the municipalities. So, yes, Greenfield has 1 free pickup per month. Milwaukee, as I mentioned before, is free. Wauwatosa is $75 for 1 to 4 items. New Berlin, 2 pickups per month. Madison is free. Racine has, they'll pick up 3 bags or 5 bulk items. Beloit is $20 per item, Franklin $95 for 5 minutes of work, but then you can drop it off with the certain limits. Moving on to something more exciting than garbage and recycling. Outdoor amenities, we're looking at focusing on rails to trails, looking at the Foundry District, converting abandoned rails spur to an active trail, update our mobility plan, and then connect the S to Power Line Trail through West Allis, and then looking at our park and open space plan. In community engagement, it's been a lot of time on that. This year, we have a full-time person who's engaged in that, putting forth the Engage workshop series and having community conversations. So continuing both of those initiatives. And then also adding additional funding for those activities and for the neighborhood associations for 2025. And lastly, the budget initiatives, employee investment, 2% increase for our general employees, and then 2.5% for both police and fire. There also is a salary adjustments. We went into pretty much detail at our administration committee meeting, but we're adjusting the salary schedule to have more steps available for people, and then also eliminating the first step, because most people are not hired at the first step at this point.
And again, then too, the main goal with making this adjustment is just to try and remain competitive with our peers, because they have already made adjustments like this.
And for the budget for 2025, there's 539.2 benefited position. That includes the addition of the appraiser position, combining some part-time positions into a full-time position for a farmer's market manager, and then additional for the Greenfield Health Department employees.
And this is kind of just a reminder of where we came from. You know, last year in 2024, the state gave us an influx of 1.4 million from that Wisconsin Act 12. That was a one-time thing that's not occurring again for the 2025 budget. But even then, you know, before we started the process, we're typically looking at about, you know, a $1.5 to $3 million budget gap that we have to cover. We were able to do that in 2024. In addition to the $1.4 million, we also got supplemental aid that, you know, that $1.4 million was for supplemental aid for police, fire, EMS, public works, and courts. We do spend over $50 million on those categories. And here's a highlight for the 2025 budget. As I said, we're typically looking at that $1.5 to $3 million budget deficit that we have to overcome. Some of the highlights include needing $650,000 for the police and fire contract obligations. Record low levy limit this year. We'll get into that on the next slide, but the state only allowed us to increase the levy by $22,000. Last year, we had the $1.4 million in additional shared revenue. Thankfully, we do have an increase this year. It's nowhere near that, but in total, we're looking at around $415,000 of increase. And thanks to many people involved, we are able to start a joint health department with the city of Greenfield. And all of that put together, the city was able to save around $265,000 going into the 2025 budget. And lastly, ambulance services, the cost of those and the revenues keep continuing to increase, so we're looking at about an additional $150,000 in revenue just related to that. And here's where we're kind of just want to reiterate levy limits. The state limits the expenditures that we can spend, and they also limit the tax levy that we can give to our taxpayers. And you can see on this slide, in prior years, we're over $200,000 a year. For this 2025 budget, it's only $22,000. We put on there not a typo, because it's unusual to have something that low. So it's difficult right out of the gate when you see a number like that to go, oh no, how are we gonna balance the budget? Levy limits are basically something that's derived from net new construction. So something that we continue to try and push here is redevelop the city, because as we redevelop the city, that creates new growth. That new growth in turn allows us to have a higher levy limit in the upcoming budget. Some highlights of the overall revenues for our general operating budget. Overall, you'll see that taxes are showing as going down. That is due to personal property aid, which was levied against businesses, becoming tax exempt for 2025. So instead of us levying that tax, the state is turning around and giving us state aid to make us whole for that. Overall, we were about $100,000 to the good with that exchange, just because we no longer have to deal with collections on those personal property taxes. And then you can see a couple categories like license permits and fees and charges for services that are showing significant declines, 9% and 4.8%. Don't be alarmed. That is simply due to us having that joint health department. Those revenues are no longer showing in our general operating budget. Those are showing in that health department budget. And then here is an expenditure summary. Again, the main takeaway here, you can see the reduction, the change for the health department, minus 31%. Again, overall, we are about, to the good, about $265,000 for this budget for the city. And culture and rec, just mention that, just one quick thing there, that's a little bit higher just due to us missing one FTE, one person in the 2024 budget. We added that back in for 2025. Some historical information here related to taxes and equalized values, assessed values. If you look at the top middle section there, you'll see that every year the equalized value keeps going up. And then if you look over to the right to the assessed value, you can kind of see how that was stagnant there until the reval here in 2024 when that went up. Coming back down to the lower left, you'll see our tax levy basically is staying the same for the city. So then if you do the math, if we have the same tax levy and a higher assessed value, we're looking at a lower tax rate. So that's the estimated tax rate for the city, $8.36. And then the overall tax rate is an estimate yet. We're still waiting for more information, $20.47. Now, just wanted to kind of show you guys what that impact might be, or the current estimate is for the, I guess, the average residential taxpayer with a home value of $200,000. For 2025, these are the figures, estimated total tax, $4,094. Some of those increases there are kind of split between two factors. Some of the tax levies for the other jurisdictions did go up, but in addition to those tax levies going up, we kind of got a bigger piece of the pie also this year. So, for example, MMSD is showing going up 5.5%. About half of that is just due to their levy going up. About half of it is just doing this, us as a city getting a bigger piece of the MMSD cost. likely related to the revale that occurred in 2024. And then, so we talked a lot about the general fund. We do need to talk about the utilities as well. I know we brought this up in our other meeting. Just wanted to go highlights here. The water utility is something that's regulated by the state, but we're currently undergoing a water rate study at this point. Rates are projected to go up 13%. That in and of itself in 1 year would look to be a high number, but the last time we had an operating increase in the water utility was in 2020. So if you average that out, that's a little over 3% per year. Moving down, let's see, MMSD typically increases their rates in December, and we pass those along, so we're simply waiting for that at this point. The stormwater utility, 7%. The last time that rate was increased was in 2017. You average that out, that's less than 1% per year. And then the solid waste utility was last updated in 2023, and the reason for that increase is a couple items. The landfill tipping fees are going up. In addition, we have better information that we can look at as far as Public Works and exactly what are they working on at any given time of the day. And based on a further analysis, we are able to see that some of the costs that we had in the general fund should have been in the solid waste utility. So that's why you're seeing that increase there too.
So at this point, the next steps are calculating the final tax rate and if there's any additional information that we need to provide. And then next week, the council will consider the recommended budget at the council meeting. And just a little information on some of the initiatives that are going on. Sometimes people have questions as to why we're spending money on certain things when, you know, the budgets are so challenging each year. So we included 4 different things here. So our Public Works facility, familiar with our facility studies that we've done and looking at the deficiencies that the current sites have, the cost for maintenance and repairs there that are needed, the inefficiencies for the operations. So we're focusing on replacing that facility. Do you want to talk a little bit about the funding for that?
The overall project for the DPW facility, it's around a $60 million project, has 3 major funding sources, a significant amount of federal grant money, the ARPA dollars, about $15 million was applied towards that, as well as a significant amount of general fund balance. Therefore, we are able to greatly reduce the amount of debt that the city needed to take out and pay interest and all that for the project. Yep, that's all I got, sorry.
Okay, no, you're good. Thank you. And then Liberty Heights Pavilion, there's new pavilion going up there. The funding is primarily through CDBG, COVID, and other grants there. That'll be a vast improvement from the facility that's there now. Marketing, we have marketing activities and branding. The Tourism Commission, there's certain funds from our room tax that need to be used for marketing and economic development. So that's where that funding comes from. And then we also have some artwork initiatives that are going on, and we fund that through the Artscape Fund. Those are restricted funds just for artistic purposes in the city. That concludes our presentation. If there's any questions.
Thanks very much. Are there any questions from the members of the Common Council on our first public hearing? Seeing none, are there any questions from the members of the audience on public hearing number 1? All right. Seeing none, we will close our first public hearing. And we have 4 more. And when our clerk gets back, I'll ask her to introduce public hearing number 2.
Ordinance to create and amend conditional use criteria for certain automotive uses.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, when you're ready.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. This ordinance was crafted at the direction of the Economic Development Committee to take a look at our existing ordinance for automotive-related uses. And currently, this is the category of within the zoning code that covers the range of different automotive uses or motor vehicle uses, ranging from part sales, which are pretty much all permitted uses that designated by the P, and then car wash services, fuel sales, heavy motor vehicle sales and service, light motor vehicle sales, indoor and outdoor display, and then light motor vehicle services. For the most part, most of the automotive-related types of uses are conditional uses. This ordinance seeks to pretty much leave that principal use table alone. What it wants to change, though, is what we're recommending changing is portions of the conditional use section in section 19.34. And with any conditional use, we have criteria within the zoning code that are basically specify how that use may operate. And then additionally, council may impose reasonable conditions in addition to what's stated in the zoning ordinance versus a permitted use, which is permitted by right. So under our current, these are just some of the changes that we're making. This is the existing ordinance, the conditional use criteria for car wash, light motor vehicle sales and service, and then heavy motor vehicle sales, and then the districts that they're currently allowed in, which won't change. The parts that we're changing here basically boil down to, right now in our zoning code, as car wash services and light motor vehicle services, auto repair, for instance, are required to be separated from residential zoning districts. And what we're proposing to change is essentially not only keeping that type of use separate from a residential zoning district, but also a residential use. In other words, if you have you wouldn't be able to create a new vehicle auto repair shop next to a residential use, even if that residential use is zoned commercial. So that's the main difference. The other thing, we're just adding a couple different sections for criteria for fuel sales with that same clause or condition, as well as heavy motor vehicle service. So again, just creating the additional condition that we don't think it's appropriate for these types of uses to be near or next to a residential district, which is currently stated, but in addition to that, next to a residential use. And just sort of to show an example of that, just taking a look at Greenfield Avenue, the pink areas are commercial zoning districts, and this one case where you have currently a restaurant and I think a couple restaurants here along Greenfield Avenue, and then you have a residential home which happens to be zoned commercial. There's really nothing barring a automotive-related use right now from going into this location and converting the restaurant to auto repair, for instance, or a gas station, for instance. So what the ordinance seeks to do is prevent that situation from occurring next to a residential use that happens to be zoned commercial. Just a closer look at that same lot. So this is the house, and this is the restaurant currently, all zoned commercial. In another situation, this is 95th and National in Lincoln, where it all sort of meets. For reference, this is the credit union, and then you have an existing automotive repair shop here with residential homes to the south and to the east. So if this were to go through, it wouldn't, I mean, basically, if this auto repair shop wasn't here, it wouldn't be allowed to locate in this location next to residential uses. It's already there, though, so this place is alive and well, it's operating, which is fine, and it may continue to do so. Even if that specific business leaves, there's basically a 12-month period that another business, auto repair or similar, could move into that location as long as that use doesn't lapse for a period of more than 1 year. The other option is that we could also consider rezoning these lots from commercial to residential on either side. So Planning Commission has looked at this ordinance and recommended approval. The notice has been published in the official paper, and we've received no objections to date. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the council on public hearing number 2?
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Weigel.
Steve, I have a hypothetical question about a lot that was going to be a gas station, 84th and Beloit. Okay, so that's residential next door?
It's a residential use next door, but it's actually zoned commercial.
It's zoned commercial,
Yeah.
but the residential use now would preclude that from becoming a new gas station now?
That is correct. Yeah, that is correct. So the gas station that was proposed there
Stalled?
stalled. It cost, whatever. They decided not to pursue that. They put a for sale sign up on it. So if this ordinance were to pass, yeah, that would limit a gas station use or a vehicle repair use at that corner in that circumstance, yes.
Okay. And these restrictions would also apply even if the lot was on the edge of the city and the use was in let's say we were like right next to the city of Milwaukee, and nothing springs to mind right now, but these restrictions don't apply just to the West Dallas area. They also apply as we abut our neighboring communities.
Correct, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the council? Seeing none, are there any questions from the members of the audience? Okay, seeing none, we will close our second public hearing, and I will ask the clerk to read public hearing number 3.
Conditional use permit for Old Bank renovation or proposed restaurant use at 6125 West National Avenue.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to staff.
Thank you. This is a very unique project in an old bank building. This is a picture from probably prior to West Dallas being recognized as a city. The building, the bank building at 6125 National was actually built in 1912, about 6 years after West Dallas became official. And this is a current view today, more or less. A lot has changed, but a lot hasn't. So the 6 Points area is still alive and well and functioning. And the proposed use here this evening is to an adaptive reuse for that the old bank building. And it's currently owned by a group who is working on it as somewhat of a passion project. It's zoned commercial, C3, and restaurants are considered conditional uses within that zoning district. The hours right now, while they don't have a tenant secured just yet, they're going to be doing a considerable amount of build out within the interior, and they want to get have sort of the confidence of the council behind them to approve the conditional use for a restaurant. But the hours generally stated are 10:30 a.m. to 2 a.m. daily. Of course, they would come back for any necessary licenses at a future date once the user is known. So the building is 2 levels with a basement, a partial basement, and it's about close to say 7,000 square feet of area. Though it sits on about a little over 8,000 square feet of land area. They're proposing a new updated ADA accessible ramp on the west corner of the lot, and then as well as additional updated ingress, exiting from the building on the east side of the building. The refuse area would be located here, and more details will be provided in a future, more detailed site plan to the Planning Commission at a future date, but what we're here tonight is basically just use approval. They would certainly come back to the Planning Commission at a future date for more detailed site and landscaping plans. And there's also future consideration potentially for vacating a portion of 61st Street between National Avenue and Greenfield Avenue. If that were to occur, that would require another public hearing before the city's council. But this is what it could look like. The green part would go to this property owner on the east side of 61st, and then the blue area would be attached to this property at 6125. It could open up some new options for outdoor dining, some additional event space outside, additional parking. So it opens up maybe a range of flexibility other than just simply that short little cut through between Greenfield and National Avenue. The floor plan, just taking a look here on the right-hand side, this is the first floor. As you enter the building, there'd be roughly, from the main entrance on the west, you'd walk into and see a sort of a 360-degree bar with about 20 seats around it. And then there'd be a series of tables and chairs from 2-seat tables to, up to 6-seat tables and then 4-seat tables, about 86 seats in total when considering the bar area as well on that first floor. And then moving on to the second floor, there's about another 65 seats on the second floor. The second floor is a mezzanine, which would overlook that lower level. So you'd have a nice view. And this could also be reserved for private events and that type of thing. There'd be another set of restrooms on that second floor. The second floor is accessible via stairs. There's not an elevator proposed at this time. And then the basement area is primarily storage. This is a limited ceiling height on the west side of the building, and then on the east side, it's a more typical taller ceiling, which would be used perhaps for kitchen prep as well as storage. A rendered view of what could be inside. The owner is doing quite a bit of work on the inside of the building right now to restore it, remove a lot of the drop ceilings, making improvements to the finishes within the building. But this is the vision for the interior and that layout with the ground floor. As you enter the building, you're looking eastward. National Avenue is on your left and Greenfield Avenue is on your right, set of windows. And then up above is that mezzanine area. And then in terms of parking, from that site plan, you can see there's a very limited amount of parking on site, only about 10 parking stalls. However, when you take a broader view and look at the neighborhood, the 6 Points area in general has a number of off-street parking areas, public parking within a short 2-minute walk, as well as public on-street parking within a 2-minute walk. And if you go out a little further to a 5-minute walk, those numbers increase accordingly, with public on-street parking of about 182 stalls for roughly about a total of 240 within 5 minutes. So Plan Commission's looked at this and they have recommended approval of the conditional use. That being said, the site, a detailed site landscaping plan will need to come back to the Planning Commission at a future date when they start working on the specifics of the tenant that occupies the space. A hearing notice was published. It's been sent out to property owners within 200 feet, and we've received no objections to date. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the members of the council on public hearing number 3? All right. Are there any questions from the members of the audience on public hearing number 3? I do not see anybody, so we will close our third public hearing, and I will ask the clerk to introduce public hearing number 4.
Resolution to approve a substantial amendment to the fiscal year 2020-2024 Community Development Block Grant Action Plan relative to use unprogrammed block grant funding of $27,941.22 to complete the Beecher Street pedestrian lighting activity.
Thank you. Turn it over to Mr. Scher once again.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a view of Beecher Street, and this has been before the council prior for a similar type of amendment. This is the last one. The project is complete. We need another $27,000, almost $28,000 to complete the project. The work's actually been done. We need to want to pay off the contract obligations to the contractor for the remaining work, which included some concrete work on our sidewalks around the bases of some of these poles. The Beecher Street corridor between 68th Street and roughly 70th Street, there are about 16 poles added, as well as the pedestrian string lights. It does liven up this area quite a bit, adds an element of safety as well as aesthetic. There's been quite a bit of work done just in this immediate area. Separately, though, there's been through non-CBG funded, there's been also a conversion of some of the circuits within this portion of the city. So overall, these are a new standard of lighting, which has been added to this location for more vibrancy, improved safety, and pedestrian walkability at night. So, and for reference, the lights come on. They have a photo eye sensor, and they come on at dusk, and they're on until about 10:30, where they shut off. So I'm told from our city engineer. So thank you.
That concludes.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry. Any questions from the council on public hearing number 4?
Mayor Devine.
Alderwoman Grisham.
Steve, a couple questions for you. I believe this was presented to us a while back, and we had reservations due to it being over budget to begin with. As far as this lighting, it's how many blocks?
From about 68th to about 70th Street.
Okay, and is there any contribution by the businesses on Beecher Street to this project?
Well, this was a federal project. I mean, so we looked at it from the standpoint of pedestrian safety, street improvements along this corridor to improve the lighting area, the lit environment along this corridor. So it is considered a low to moderate income area and ineligible from a block grant standpoint to use these funds within that area.
Okay, so it's been fully funded by those funds?
Through those funds,
No
yeah.
contributions from any businesses or otherwise?
No, not that I'm aware of, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the council on public hearing number 4? Seeing none, are there any questions on public hearing number 4 from the members of the audience? Seeing none, we will close our 4th public hearing, and I'll ask the clerk to introduce our 5th and final public hearing.
Resolution to approve a substantial amendment to the fiscal year 2020-2024 Community Development Block Grant Action Plan to use $3,434.33 unprogrammed block grant funding towards completing slum and blight removal activity of a vacant tavern located at 6901 West Beloit Road.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. The objective here is to remove a blighting feature, an old tavern that was unoccupied for probably close to a decade at 69th and Beloit Road. The property consists of 2 parcels. They're both zoned commercial. And the tavern went out of business and was foreclosed by Milwaukee County. The Community Development Authority was authorized to purchase the property and did so, and it was under the city's control. We used community development block grant funds to demolish the building. The original bid from the contractor was about $50,000, and we, as part of during the demolition, I guess it was uncovered an old well on the site. So it requires some additional water well or monitoring well, and it was required to fill that in at the cost of roughly additional funds needed about $3,400. So for a total project of $53,000. So the project is complete. The well has been infilled, and now the CDA has the property with the intent to redevelop it for a low to moderate income single-family home on the corner lot. The other lot could be sold or could be developed in a similar manner. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the council on public hearing number 5? Seeing none, are there any questions from the audience on public hearing number 5? All right. We will close our 5th and final public hearing, and we will move right into Section E on our agendas, which is public participation. This is where the council may receive information from members of the public. Each speaker must announce his or her name and address, sign in at the podium, and limit your comments to 1 statement of no more than 5 minutes. The council can't take action on topics raised by speakers and will not discuss topics with the speakers. Does anybody wish to address the council under public participation? If so, please approach the podium. And if you could when you're ready, push the button to turn the microphone on, please.
Okay, I think that's on. My name is Razel Okrulica. Last name is Okrulica. I reside at 8521 West Orchard Street. I've been a resident of West Dallas for just over 3 years, and I'm the current president of the Conrad Gardens Neighborhood Association. Mayor Devine and Common Council, I'm just here to share gratitude for the inclusion of the ongoing financial and city staff support for all of our neighborhood associations in the 2025 budget. These groups are essential in improving the overall quality of our life in West Dallas. The city's continued investment in the Neighborhood Association program demonstrates your commitment to our mission in Conrad Gardens of fostering a supportive, safe, and engaged community. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks very much. Is there anybody else that wishes to address the council under public participation?
My name is John Cervantes. I'm the president of the East Dallas Neighborhood Association. I'm here today also to thank you guys for everything you've done to help the neighborhood associations through the years. I've run a business 25 years. I was here in West Dallas. I grew up here, and I'm very proud of everything that is happening to bring back West Dallas to the way it was when we were younger. And I just wanted to weigh in on this issue as you do the budget and say thank you.
Thanks for your comments. Sorry, could you push the button there?
Oh.
Hey, thank you.
I thought it was on already. My bad.
No, you're good.
Good evening. My name is Shanika Davis. Y'all have me posted on the picture earlier from the Engage workshop. I just wanted to come up and express my gratitude as well and thank you guys for the participation and financial support to the Engage program, because this year was it was our first go around for it, but also it brought a different hand of diversity. And I thought that was important as a member of the engagement to bring different perspectives and different cultures together to engage within the neighborhood, because it's more than just about engaging with people. It's also about expressing that gratitude of engagement. In order to succeed in that, we need programs like the engagement workshop that we have to bring those collaborators together and bring our residents together to be able to collaborate on ideas for further improvement. So I just want to give my thank you as well.
Thanks very much. Anybody else wish to address the council under public participation? Seeing none, we will close public participation, and we will move to item F, which is where I will announce that our standing committees will be meeting during recess. If you are here for a license or a permit or a specific agenda item, please take a look at the top of page 2 on your agendas. And if you need direction on which room you should be in when we break for recess, please ask one of us or somebody from city staff. Moving on to item G, the mayor's report. I just have one quick thing. I want to, as some of you may be aware, we had an election last week. And I just want to thank not only our clerk, Rebecca, and our deputy clerk, Jenny, and everybody who not only voted, but helped run the polls, ran the early in-person voting, everything involved in running this election. I don't even want to try to name names or things because I will miss some very important people, in fact. But overall, it went very smoothly, and I just want to really thank everybody for the excellent work that was done to get that going. That does conclude my mayor's report. Do we have any alderpersons' reports this evening?
Mayor Devine?
Alderwoman Grisham.
Just want to mention that we attended the Veterans Day celebration. That was yesterday at our satellite station, And I just want to do a shout out to all of our veterans in the community and thank them from the bottom of my heart for their service. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other alderpersons' reports?
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Haas.
I move for approval of the minutes of the October 15th, 2024 Common Council meeting.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Are there any changes or corrections? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. The minutes are approved. We have no standing committee reports under item J, so we will go right to item K, and Alderman Haas hasn't even turned off his microphone, so he's ready to go.
Thank you, Mayor Devine. If no alderpersons are requesting separate action on any of our consent agenda items, then I move for approval of item K, our consent agenda.
Second.
There's a motion and there is a second. If there is no discussion, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Haas.
Aye.
Halverson.
Aye.
Kane. Aye. Novak. Aye. Noling. Aye. Rote.
Aye.
Turner.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Grobe. Aye. 10 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries.
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Haas.
I move that the council stand in recess until the conclusion of our committee meetings.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are in recess.
be a little delay and a little change of venue here. I'm going to take public safety first because Alderwoman Keene would like to be part of the discussion for Public Works. Okay. We are going to call the Public Safety Committee meeting to order. Let the record reflect that all 5 committee members are present. Our first order of business is item 45, 2024-0738, new operator's license bartender, Class D operator, application for Catherine Wisniewski. I'm going to hand this over to Attorney, oh my God, I just forgot your name.
Fine, Serwin. All good.
It's been a minute since you've been here.
Yeah.
And I admitted that I forgot you.
Hey, Kevin, what's
Yes,
his name?
yeah, hey, Kevin. Anyhow, please lead. I was doing so well for a second.
Just the attorney that's been here the
Yeah.
longest. and everything.
Yeah, hey, I know. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry.
The name may be familiar. She had applied in the past and was denied a license previously based on, I don't think it was actually so much a record, but she didn't have a license at the time and was denied based on some untruthful statements to the board. She's reapplied. She's waited her allotted time, actually I think over that allotted time, and now does have a valid license. I do believe, and I was just going to look up really quick, that she had asked for, she said she couldn't be present today. So my advice would be, if there's adverse action on her license, to give her the opportunity to kind of speak to that. If the committee determines that, based on the information you have before it, it's appropriate to approve the license, then I think you can do that without her here. It's your prerogative.
And thank you, Attorney Serwin. I wanted both Alderman Turner and Alderman Rote to have an opportunity to weigh in on that because I believe you were the two that objected at the time. So as Attorney Serwin said, we can proceed and vote on the license, or we can grace her to come back and present before the committee.
She was one that drove here, correct?
She drove here at the time, correct, parked over there, and said she didn't drive here. She now has a valid license. Whatever it was underlying has been corrected.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that,
I don't.
all right. Alderman Turner, do you have any feedback?
The only thing I remember the situation was there was 2 different stories at the time. And personally, I think that she needs to be in front of this group in order to explain.
Okay.
And if everything's fine, then okay, but I think she needs to really talk to us and explain why she didn't tell the truth, and now she will be doing the correct thing.
Okay, and I'm going to defer to Attorney Serwin because I believe under Chapter 125, I don't know if that's really discussion. I know we can speak to it, but it doesn't have a direct impact on the licensing activity.
I think I can answer the question. So, right, if the committee is denying or making some action based on her record, it has to be substantially related. I think prior untruthfulness or a consideration of untruthfulness, it certainly would have a shelf life. I don't think there can be a permanent bar because she was untruthful at one point in time. However, I guess how long that shelf life exists to the committee's appreciation, I guess your call. There is a certain period of time where she cannot reapply or could not reapply and did not reapply, and so if that is sufficient, go ahead. If you want her here, then it's absolutely your discretion.
Okay, and taking both of your points in consideration, I believe Ms. Wisniewski already did have that consequence for being denied and had to wait this period. It seems to me by her record that she has rectified the issue with not having a driver's license. We know based on our experience, in order to do that, you have to meet certain criteria and qualification for rehabilitation. And so with that being said, I'll make a motion to approve.
And I second that.
All right.
And just to add to your discussion, Madam Chair, right, and as Alderman Rote said, I think she's learned her lesson. We're looking for rehabilitation. She's definitely shown rehabilitation by just getting her driver's license back in order, getting things back in order. She's to be commended for that. I don't think we need her here in order to approve that.
Okay, thank you, Alderman. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? The ayes have it.
I am.
Oh, you're opposed?
I'm opposed.
Okay, so there are 4 ayes and 1 nay. Next item on the agenda is Item number 46, 2024-0779, Southwest Suburban Health Department update. That has not yet flowed off my tongue quite yet. Hi, Bob.
Kind of running with swished.
Swish.
Okay.
I like that.
Oh, that's not like that.
Swish.
Okay.
Be confused with the Nike.
Okay.
The swoosh.
And we have with us tonight Bob Leisho, Health Commissioner for the Southwest Suburban Health Department.
Thank you. So it's been a few weeks since I've been here to present the previous update. So even in a relatively short period of time, we have actually had some pretty good progress. I will give you some numbers, but really understanding this is just for discussion purposes, would certainly open it to any questions that you might have as we go through this. So unfortunately, I don't have the formal presentation. I'll just read from my notes. But similar to what I had reported out on previously, recall that the health department is and continues to be a vital records department. So we issue death and birth certificates. In the 2 months, really since I've been here, we've actually issued a little over 1,300 vital records, about 260 birth certificates, and then a little over 1,000 death certificates. So I would say business is booming in that regard. We've held over 10 community events with over 300 participants or attendees, and I'll get into a little bit of detail on those. With regard to our WIC program, we continue to be a very robust WIC entity. Having a location here in West Dallas, Greenfield, as well as still in Cudahy. And in the 2 months since I've last was here, we have seen around 2,100 WIC families, which translates to about 3,200 individual WIC participants. We have also hosted 9 community flu clinics, so have actually inoculated 371 clients, plus 30 COVID walk-ins we've had. We also continue to offer our free blood pressure clinics. So we, I won't say have a robust presence, but we have just through walk-ins done the periodic blood pressure checks of right around 20 individuals. And then we've done a little over 200 environmental inspections. So getting into a little bit of detail here. With regard to the outreach and engagement events, which really is a big component of what we do as a health department over the past couple months, we have a social isolation and loneliness grant and focus, which is part of our community health improvement plan. We have held an event at the Greenfield Public Library. 11 attendees attended that session. We are involved in a back-to-school backpack giveaway. So we were successful in actually getting backpacks with supplies and resources to 96 students. We held a community Narcan training in September. So we had 14 participants be really informed and trained on how to administer Narcan. And then, again, as part of our social isolation and loneliness focus, we actually started what are called library events. And so a couple of our staff are actually standing up these sessions, working with primarily elderly at this point. We've had 3 of those listening sessions, and I haven't been able to attend, nor have I seen the recordings, but I hear that they were wonderful, very engaging, and so as part of that process, there have been 10 participants recorded, and these are folks who are really just kind of telling a story of something that's unique about their life. And really just being in really an engaging kind of situation. So far, 60 plus people have attended those parties. And then actually just a couple weeks ago, we hosted a family bowling night as part of one of our grants. And so we had 24 families attend that, which translates to a little over 100 people. We had initially around 200 people express interest. So we are planning to host something very similar, but really the whole idea behind this is just to get the community together and really just talk with one another and get to know one another and hopefully make some friendships, kind of grow that social network. We also had a community epinephrine training in October that was hosted in Greenfield. We participated in the health fair at the Greenfield Community Center, and then we participated in a number of just general community outreach tabling events. So just sharing resources and information on who we are as a health department. So that's really a quick snapshot in terms of our really outreach and engagement events. We'll kind of transfer to clinical services at this point, again focusing on September and October. We do have nurses who actually will go into people's homes and provide vaccines for those who are homebound. And so in the past couple months we have had 24 of those interactions. We have administered 42 TB skin tests. Again, blood pressure checks. And then with regard to our Mass Clinic flu initiative, we saw about 20 kiddos at West Milwaukee Intermediate School as well as the West Dallas I believe this would be Nathan Hale. 20 students got vaccinated. And then, of course, a big part of what we do as a local health department, we just routinely monitor for communicable disease cases, and then as those pop up in our system, we provide follow-up as needed. And those could be TB cases, those can be pertussis cases, those can be any number of communicable diseases. And then a little more breakdown in terms of our flu clinics. We had 9 separate flu clinics over the past couple months at the Village of Manor Park, so we had a presence there. We stood up a clinic at the Senior Center, at the Health Department, Greenfield Health Department, West Milwaukee, we also had a presence there. Greenfield Health Fair, and then various walking clinics. And so we've spread ourselves, I don't want to say thin throughout the community, but we're getting ourselves out there. And then with regard to WIC and environmental services, again, WIC has just been very still proactive. Our enrollment continues to increase. It's really a program that we don't heavily promote. It's just one of these that becomes more word of mouth, and then we're just in a fortunate situation in that we have a robust enough team, and as well kind of presence spread throughout the Southeast, where we're able to bring folks in and accommodate their needs. Focusing a little bit on the environmental side of things, for West Dallas and West Milwaukee, we had, let's see, breaking things down a little bit here. We have performed 31 routine inspections, which essentially is getting into restaurants and different locations that require permitting and licensing. We've done 9 re-inspections. We've done a number of pre-licensing inspections. Unfortunately, we've had 2 blood lead poisoning cases in 2 months that we, by statute, have to follow up on. And then with regard to complaints, and those are essentially defined as general nuisances or things that are defined as potential human health hazards, we have addressed 107 of those. And to break those down a little bit, for complaints and nuisances, 65 of those 107 are animal-related complaints, 45 being rat or rodent, and really the remainder being related to like dog feces, dog barking, feeding animals, bird feeding, too many dogs, cats, and things like that. 7 insect infestations that we've investigated,
We received 17 garbage-related complaints, 1 noise-related, 4 hoarding-related, 5 mold-related, 3 sewage-related, and then 3 food restaurant-related complaints. People will contact us if they feel they've gotten food poisoning as a result of eating somewhere. And then we have also then received 2 complaints of locations, primarily multi-residential locations where the heat wasn't turned on. So then we will engage the property management, if not the owner, to encourage them to just make sure that their residents are living in a comfortable and safe environment. Greenfield specifically, there were 20 inspections, 9 re-inspections, 5 pre-licensing inspections. We didn't have any lead poisoning investigations. And then with regard to complaints in Greenfield, certainly not to the same scale, but the vast majority of those 11 complaints were rodent-related. Garbage, debris was one, and then other animal-related complaints, and then 1 mold. And then 2, within both municipalities, we do respond to dangerous dog or animal bite situations. And so unfortunately, we had 11 here in West Dallas between September and October, and then 3 in Greenfield that we responded to. Now moving on to just generally Southwest Suburban Health Department administrative updates. Stay tuned. We are in the really the final throes of having our new logo, our brand. So there is a small group of people who are meeting, I think, yet this week to review that and then talk a little bit about a launch plan. So we're pretty excited about that. With regard to OpenGov, recognizing that it's heavily used here in West Dallas, we want to give really particular attention to how our other customers, whether they're in West Dallas or West Milwaukee or Greenfield, can potentially also use OpenGov. So we have started to explore feasibility of that, and we'll be talking it up pretty quickly here with Rebecca to scope that in some way, shape, or form. And then with regard to the villages of West Milwaukee and Greendale, we are actively working with them on essentially standing up new service agreements with them under Southwest Suburban. So it's not the challenge, but the difference is that as Southwest Suburban is now, it's really a standalone. We just had to make some modifications really to the verbiage and the language of the contracts to essentially make our department, I don't want to say more singularly present, but really setting us up in a way where we will have direct oversight of that relationship. So those are working through the approval processes. We rely very heavily on Department of Health Services, Wisconsin Department of Health Services grants and contracts. And so spending a fair amount of time really towards the end of any fiscal year, essentially negotiating, renegotiating contracts with them. So as of today, we're in pretty good shape. We're not in a position of losing any of our long-standing grants and contracts with them. So for things like maternal child health, prevention, lead prevention, we get a little bit of funds to support our activities around that, so those will remain. And then integration efforts, just between primarily Greenfield and West Dallas. We kind of look at like our various plans and policies and procedures. So we don't want to continue to run in a parallel track. We really just want to ideally have a seamless, consistent way of doing business. And so really kind of looking at ways that we can better integrate those types of those documents. And so that's going to be a long drawn-out process in and of itself. And then we recently onboarded a brand-new public health nurse, a position that is considered hard to fill. So we're knocking on wood that this is going to pan out. But she started like 3 weeks ago, and but she will be Greenfield-based, but is doing the bulk of her training on site in West Dallas at this point. Okay. That's what I have.
Wow.
That's a
Thank
few
you,
months.
Bob, for the very, very detailed presentation. Yeah, you covered all bases plus some. I have just a couple questions. The one thing that caught my attention was the dog bites. 11, is that an uptick or is that typical?
It's a little high at this point. No known reason or cause. It's just kind of situational.
I heard that. Okay, and the other question I had, which you said you're going to work with Rebecca Grill on, is that OpenGov, is that software related or, okay, so it's just getting those addresses, software and everything to speak to one another?
Yep,
Okay,
ideally.
all right. Lastly, the lead poisoning, 2 cases, paint related, not water related, correct?
Paint related
All
at
right.
this point. And it could be as well toy related, but it could be materials that perhaps were from overseas. They have lead in them.
Right.
Kids will chew on them. So, but typically we're looking at lead
Okay.
in paint situations, and considering the housing stock, it's definitely a risk that we know about.
Right. Okay, I don't have any other questions. I have appreciation to you and your team. I know you've been working very hard, so thank you for taking time to do this presentation. Anybody else have any questions?
Yep, Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Alderman Haas.
Yeah, and Bob, like Suzette said, yeah, you're doing a good job. Great to see things coming along. I'm looking at perhaps, can we expand the Southwest Suburban Health Department? We already do environmental for the Village of Greendale. Has there been any overtures to the Village of Greendale of, hey, why don't you bring your whole health department in with us? And I think of Hales Corners also, because I drive past their health department every Sunday on my way to church. And their health department is a former house on Highway 100, and that's actually a step up for them. It used to be in their library, where we as a larger organization certainly could provide more services to their communities, and it can be a win-win for both. I'd like consideration made for that. Your thoughts?
So, yeah, we are fortunate to continue with Greendale to provide their environmental services for the next 2 years. That was one change that they were willing to make. Actually, this year we had been on a yearly cadence, but they were open to extending that for 2 years. So hopefully that just kind of further instills the importance of our relationship. I haven't talked with them about coming on board as part of the Southwest Suburban. Hales Corners, it's just part of our, I guess, consolidation with Greenfield, have inherited taking on their, what's called Vaccine for Children's VFC program. So VFC is really intended for kiddos who just can't afford, they might not be on insurance or inadequate insurance. So we do provide the VFC immunizations and support for Hales Corners, and we'll continue to do that. But again, I have not had the conversation with my counterpart about the consolidation. Certainly open to it, but yeah, I think it might need some internal conversation first.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions?
Madam Chair,
Oh, go ahead, Alderman Kane.
when you had brought up that you received complaints due to insect infestation, what is that, bed bug?
Bed bugs,
Okay.
typically. Cockroaches, so we've been actually working pretty closely with DPW on some cockroach activity here in West Dallas. And so I'd say we partner really nice with them. We will issue a letter essentially on behalf of the health department, but then in collaboration with DPW, but it's typically gonna be cockroaches and bed bugs,
Thank you.
yeah.
Okay. That ends discussion? All right, well, Bob, thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, that's the rest of our agenda.
I
Do
move we adjourn.
Okay, motion, second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned. It's over to you, Rob.
Okay, we'll call Public Works to order. Item 30 and 12, everybody's still here from last week, so we're all present still.
Yep.
Item 39, ordinance 2024-0043, ordinance to consolidate and update refuse, recycling, and yard waste laws. And for tonight, we're going to hold both of these, but we're discussing them with Dave and Mike. Got it, correct. So should I take them together? Okay, then I'll read out. Item 40 also, resolution 2024-0623, resolution updating public works fees for yard waste and refuse curbside pickup services. Go ahead, gentlemen.
So part of the mayor's initiative is trying to address the rodent issue throughout the city and limiting the exposure of food items and garbage and refuse that may be on the ground that are next to the receptacle of each residential unit. So currently the process now is a resident can have up to 2 receptacles per living unit, each household. We take up to 1 cubic yard of garbage, debris, construction debris, what have you. It could be a chair, and that would be all free at this time unless it's a heavy material. Then there's a charge for that. If there are excessive amounts over 1 cubic yard, 1 to 4 cubic yards, 4 to 8, then there's a bulk fee that's charged to that residential unit. Like Rebecca Grill mentioned, currently the process right now is the route crew will communicate to the supervisor to verify the amount that is out by this point of collection area, whether it be at the alley or at the curb. In doing so, it's not efficient. So we want to remove that as we have the crew there. How can we do that is technology. So working with our IT department as well as OpenGov, we're looking at the crews will be able to take a photo and that amount and assess a fee. The supervisor will be able to monitor that as well. We will need to communicate to the residential owner, property owner, based on the material, the fee amount, the appeal process. If we don't receive payment within 30 days, we can put it on the tax bill. But the main focus is we're trying to have all the residential owners to keep their garbage within the container. If they think they're using more than 64 gallons or 96 gallons, well, we encourage them to have another container. That way everything is contained. It's more efficient for our crews, especially in the wintertime, less injuries. So that's kind of the focal point in this ordinance change. But again, we're trying to push residential residents to have that refuse, construction debris, to put that within the receptacles that they have. If they only have one, working with the attorney's office, we have expanded that to 2 garbage containers that, free of charge, that it's the same service, but the resident is obligated to pay for that extra container.
The free of charge is the pickup.
The pickup, correct, yeah. Yep.
Not the
Yeah, the container would, they would have to pay a fee. $56, I believe.
Let's say it's $60.
And there was a survey that went out to communities, neighboring communities, and you have any questions, we're somewhat competitive what the neighboring communities are charging.
And Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, and then Dave, also, I think it's true then, that sets us up, and I'm making the motion of the ARM, it sets us up for automated collection, then by instituting this automated collection, meaning the truck with the arm that grabs.
Potentially, yes. You're absolutely correct. We do have it with the help of the attorney's office where we have it where the container has to be positioned, where the lid opens. So if we did want to go that route, that lid is opening and that the residents, residential people have to place it at the point of collection.
So if I'm a guy that always has my cart full, and I'm always sticking stuff next to the cart to a big pile, I should get 2 carts.
Yeah, correct. If you're a regular individual that's, the cart is overflowing, or you have, weekly additional garbage or
Get another
debris,
cart.
get another cart, yep,
Which the homeowner has to buy.
correct.
We were looking at some type of incentive or
That'd be
reduced
nice.
rates.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, please.
I have several questions. I looked at the model of what our sister cities do, and kind of going back to what Alderman Roth said, one of the things I see a lot on social media specifically is, what can I put in the trash? What can I throw out? Will they pick up a mattress? Bulk items have been an issue for a long time. I don't know how they're related to rodent issues. I can understand the bags being outside of the garbage with, food items and whatnot. But when we're looking at bulk pickup, for example, or somebody says, well, I cut my mattress in 3 and then I shove it in the container. Anything.
Yep.
Anything we're talking. It can't be a suitcase, as Alderwoman Keene and I were discussing earlier, that could be left beside if your garbage is full.
Correct.
So you have to store those items and wait until you can stuff them in your carts.
Correct. Or use our drop-off site.
Okay. And there's no charge at the drop-off site, am I correct?
Less than 1 cubic yard.
Okay. Because I personally would like to see it incentivized, because you're going to see a lot of dumping, which we've combated that over the years. I think people will do that. So I think we need to consider incentivizing it, that dumping at the city yards would be not fee-based, even if we open it up to maybe once a month. Where people get the idea that, okay, we have this. I think Cudahy does that, where they have a once a month, just go to the dump and dump whatever you need. Another question I have is, when these violations take place, I know we have the technology, you're working with IT, do we immediately tag that garbage can with a sticker? Rather than, what processes are we going to be looking at to communicate this to the customer?
We currently, at this time, the process is we do communicate with a ticket, so to speak, where the supervisor will go and verify what the crew's concerns are to make sure it is a violation. And then we do communicate that either on the container or at like a door hanger.
Okay. Another question for you is the recycle items. In the time of Amazon and online shopping, there's bulk boxes, especially at 9415. I break them down. I think one of the communication pieces is going to be how to better break down your garbage, whether it, your cans, whatnot. But my question is our recycling program, we make money from that, correct? Or we do not? So we can have the right answer for our taxpayers.
We do receive some percentages of savings, but again, that's based on the commodity market,
Right.
overseas. So it fluctuates.
So being the average homeowner, I'm going to say, why do I have to pay for you to pick up my recyclables that I'm breaking up and putting a bow on for you? Because that's how, a lot of people look at it.
But again, it's a mandate, state mandate as well. So we're abiding by the law, state statute.
Okay, and final question, because I don't want to take up everybody's questions if anybody else has any. What is the timeline and rollout of this information being shared if it is passed?
Well, there'll be a lot of homework for someone. No, I'm kidding. No, we'll have to work with the communication department as well as Rebecca and the mayor's initiative if it's passed within the budget. And that's going to be key where we can always make I think the period of time longer. We can work with the citizens. We just want to have it where it's easier for the crews, it goes faster, and we are trying, like you mentioned, incentivize where these individuals either they wait or they buy another container or they use our drop-off site. Now, we can incentivize with maybe the fee adjustment, on for the drop-off center or, what have you. So kind of open to that.
And this is just my last statement. I think it's going to be a little bit of a larger pill to swallow for a lot of us residents with this budget and increase in prices on other things. So I'm just hoping that we're as mindful as possible to make this more seamless and not, that we're taking advantage and saying, okay, we're slapping, you with all these bills to pick up your garbage, because people want to know that their tax dollars are being used, so they feel something's being taken away from them. And that's going to be difficult, I think, to really get through to our residents.
And going through the collection process where you may have a resident where one day, 1 week, it might be a chair, or might be some type of material, well, then all of a sudden it leads to perishable items. And then you have maybe glass in a bag. Well, we'd like to have that contained for obvious reasons. So it's not just black and white where it's a chair, it's some type of material. It expands. There's a little bit more leeway where they go from that type of material to perishable items. And then that kind of creates the rodent activity. So with this, that we will be addressing it right on the spot. So.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Dave and Mike.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead. Mr. Chair, sorry. Dave, just to clarify, so it's not like we're going to be having DPW run down your alley every day to check if you have, basically it's like, okay, my garbage day is Thursday.
Right.
If I get a second bin, by Thursday, everything should be good, nothing should be overflowed.
And there's a case of point of if we happen to go, it's Monday and we go through Wednesday's route for whatever reason, and uncontained garbage that's perishable, yes, we will address that right away.
Okay.
Yep.
Only perishable?
Correct.
Okay. The only thing I worry about is the random dude that comes down my alley every day looking for scrap metal. I like leaving him scrap metal. Want to say his name is Gary. I don't know. Gary likes scrap metal. I just want to make sure I can still do that and not get hit with a pickup charge or anything.
Yep. And the main point is that we clarified with the city attorney's office is the point of collection. There's so many residences that they'll put it partially out, and then there's other items surrounding the container, and the crew's trying to do a good job. They'll collect all that material, and then potentially, whoops, we collected the wrong items.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I just want to make sure, I think you were talking about communication, which is going to be the big part of it, because I have several homes near me which are rentals, and I can tell you right now, when they move out, there's all kinds of stuff out there in that yard, so that the person who owns that building is going to be aware to tell their people that you better clean it up or there's going to be an additional charge.
So the key there is to, via email electronically, to be able to identify the property owner.
Right.
And we'll have to, look at the property information that's on file, and hopefully they have an email or some means or a phone number that we can make contact right away.
just want to weigh in on the communication plan. It's going to be similar to what we did when we did the recycling cart initiative. That was pretty robust. We want to make sure, that's why having additional months to communicate with people. So if somebody is doing that, we can probably put a hanger on their cart saying, you know, starting this date, this will cost this. So just so you know, so there'll be a variety of things that we're looking at, letting people know in 7 different ways at least.
Is one of the 7 going to be water bills?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Oh, please.
It was a couple of questions I had. So will we potentially have like the tags that, okay, it's not enacted yet, but we just picked up your mattress. Next time, this will cost you $50.
Right.
So that way it kind of eases them into it.
Right.
And then if, and again, to go back to like a suitcase, someone has a suitcase next to their garbage cart, but their garbage cart is not full. Because they did not put it in, they're going to be
We'll
charged
work with
for-
them. You know, we try. I don't want to
kinda
be
need to
black
have
and
it
white,
somewhat
but
black and
we'll
white.
remind the individual, the property owner, and say, hey, put a sticker and just say, this could have been a, whatever the fee will be. Just like Rebecca was indicating with the communication plan, we're not trying to go out there and, prosecute
Right.
these individuals. We know we're trying to change a habit, so it takes some time. So, if everybody abides by that, or at least, try to make a total change of the habits that we've had for how many years? It's going to be hard, so it's going to be easier on us long-term wise and more efficient.
Alderman Michael.
Mr. Chair, West Dallas used to pick up out of carts that were picked up by machines. Remember the old flower pots?
Yeah.
But they were really big.
Rapid rail.
Yeah, they were called Rapid Rail, and they were really large. I want to say 6 feet in diameter, 5.5 feet. 5.5 feet in diameter, maybe 4 or 5 feet tall. And I'm looking around this room, if we were gonna throw away that potted fake tree in the corner over there, you'd have to cut it in half, right? Because the lid's gotta be closed. Right? And that would fill up one of your garbage cans, right?
Yep.
Look at throwing away one of these tables that we're sitting at.
$50.
Yeah, it's gonna be $50. I think someone's gonna make some money renting Sawzalls to people, to cut their stuff up, or maybe just go buy one. But I think we're gonna get a lot of phone calls on this. I agree with it. I like the idea where we're going back to this, just on work comp claims and all that. But I think we need to be prepared for some citizen questions.
For sure.
Because as good a job as we're gonna do telling people, there's gonna be a lot of people. And the reality is, I've already ordered a second recycling container. My garbage can's never full. Our recyclable's always full. And it's not Christmas. Because that's what's full by my house, is my
Right.
recyclables all the time. But you look at how we're gonna get rid of the things we buy. We're a consumer nation. We all buy too much crap. We all throw away too much. And maybe this will inspire people to fix things versus throw it away. One more quick thing. We're gonna be, it's a money-making thing for you, okay? Well, no, we're just gonna charge the people everyone's gonna get a free basic level of service. But if you want the extra level of service, if you're running a home-based business and you have a lot of garbage, or whatever you're doing, or you have a large family, you have a lot of garbage, you have a bigger impact on the community, a bigger impact on our services. People should pay for the services they're getting above and beyond the basics of what we're getting. So I agree with it. I just think we're going to need to be prepared for the conversations. So.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
I have 2 more questions. Rental properties, you said identifying them. Attorney Serwin, do we have difficulty with LLCs sometimes notifying, or do we always have a contact information on those individuals?
It's difficult, but I think that speaks to, I heard it over here, but the tax bill will be easier to get at people versus a citation. So right now, I was just trying to set up a trial for a garbage entity, or an entity that had garbage problems. I have to go through 4 people at the Public Works Department to get the person who actually reviewed it, and it took that many steps and that much staff time to even get the citation issued. That's not a knock on Public Works, it's just,
Right.
that's how the process is right now. And so this is gonna be more efficient, but also, I think, accommodate the people that are using more, and we don't have to litigate against an LLC. I have to find the entity or the person that's actually culpable. Put in a tax bill, the taxes get paid.
Perfect.
So, it's efficient.
Yeah, it sounds to be. That's really good news.
Oh, I was gonna
and-
respond to her question, actually.
Oh.
Another, if you recognize me.
I know you anywhere.
We also have the property registration where any non-owner occupied property is supposed to be registered with a phone number and address.
Okay.
That code enforcement keeps up, and it's not 100% accurate, but it was set up years ago for exactly that reason. I think there was a couple properties broken into in a shopping center on Highway 100, and we didn't have a way to contact the owners, so that will also help in communicating.
Okay, thank you. My last question, as always, rodent-related, commercial dumpsters. We're not responsible to pick them up, but what do we do when they're overflowing and whatnot? And they're the culprits of the rodent activity.
So if our supervisory staff sees that, they will report it to the appropriate department within the city, take pictures and email that and notify either code enforcement or, if it's applicable, health department.
And we do go pick that up if it is not addressed and bill
Code
them?
enforcement has individuals, they're contracted with a third party
Okay,
that does that.
yeah, because everybody needs to be a part of the solution here. Well, it's not my
Our
committee.
longest attorney, and your attorney.
Jeez, I'm not going to live it down.
So that's where summary abatement could hit, because a lot of that stuff would be on or near or approaching a public right of way. If we want city staff to go take care of it, and get paid for that, we have to give them notice first. And so that might be where it comes down, that we are either giving them 24-hour notice to get that taken care of, or we just do it and give them tickets and I recoup that cost in a different way. But that's where summary abatement can come in. It just depends on what notice we're giving and what we do, if we're gonna be able to recoup that.
Yeah, I think we should explore that.
I'll cite them, or cite them, I'll prosecute it.
All right, I'm done with my questions.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
So Dave, the mechanics of how this works. I have an item outside of my garbage. I have to pay $50. Do I get a bill in the mail first saying, Kevin, pay $50? And then if I don't pay that, then it goes on my property tax bill?
So, yeah. So what we would do, we would take action, we would, just starting out, we'll give you a warning or what have you and try to educate you and your family. And then if it continues, yes, then we will service it right then and there, take a picture of it. We will then email you or your contact information that you have on file for your property and indicate that, hey, you were charged for this, here's a picture of it. If you'd like to appeal this or what have you, here's what you need to do, let us know. If we don't hear from you, there will be someone designated at the DPW that will have to follow up then after 30 days and say, well, around October, November, we have to notify, to put it on the tax bill for payment.
So there is that due process ability to appeal that bill. I didn't know about it, I didn't know what was going on, so there's gonna be extra processes in place here that will give people some breaks or credit. Sorry. Okay.
So we're going to have garbage court?
No, it'll be administrative court, in all likelihood.
Okay.
Dog bites and garbage.
Dog bites and, oh.
Right now, there's a lot of follow-up. This would be, you get one chance to pay an appeal. Right now, they do a lot.
Well, pictures don't lie, so you can obviously see that, that's,
And again, for the most part, it's the certain properties, like you mentioned,
violators.
that is just, so much that's outside the container, and they have the eligibility of purchasing another one, and they don't. So we're even putting those on their tax bill, saying, hey, you need another container, here it is, and, yep.
So I lied, I have another question. So I live in a duplex. Both the units can have 2 each? So there can be 4 for a 2-family of
Correct.
each?
Yeah, 2 refuse and 2 recycling.
So
for
upstairs,
each unit.
downstairs, 4?
So 8
Yep.
total.
8 total. It's a lot of garbage bins.
And again, you gotta have the space, right? To
Right.
store this.
Well, that's the thing.
And the point of collection, yep.
Okay, I'm done.
Are you sure? Okay, is there a motion to adjourn? We're just gonna hold these 2.
Yep. I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Adjourn.
Good evening. We'll call the council back to order, and I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Haas.
Here.
Halverson.
Here.
Keen. Here. Novak. Here. Noling. Here. Grote.
Here.
Turner.
Here.
Weigel.
Here.
Grisham. Here. Grobe. Here. 10 present.
We have a quorum. Let's go with the Administration Committee.
The Administration Committee recommended adoption of items 36 through 38.
Mayor Devine, I move we adopt the committee's report.
Thank you, Alderman Weigel. Is there any discussion on the Administration Committee report? Hearing none, seeing none, I will ask clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Haas.
Aye.
Halverson.
Aye.
Keen. Aye. Novak. Aye. Noling. Aye. Rote.
Aye.
Turner.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Grobe. Aye. 10 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. Public Works, I believe both items were held because Alderman Rote didn't want to do anything tonight, so.
Lazy bum, eh? It was like comedy hour for a while there.
So we will move right on to the Economic Development Committee.
Economic Development Committee recommended approval of item 41, passage of item 42 with, as amended from service to sales, and adoption of item 43 and 44.
Mayor Devine, I move in accordance of the committee report.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the Economic Development Committee? Seeing none, hearing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alderperson Haas.
Aye.
Halverson.
Aye.
Keen.
Aye.
Novak.
Aye.
Noling. Aye. Rote.
Aye.
Turner.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Grisham.
Aye.
Grobe. Aye. 10 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion carries. And next up is Public Safety.
The Public Safety Committee recommended granting item 45 on a 4-to-1 vote.
Mayor Devine, I move for approval of the Public Safety Committee report.
Thank you. Any discussion on that item? Seeing none, hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? The ayes have it, the motion carries.
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Haas.
I move that we adjourn until our next scheduled meeting, Tuesday, November 19th.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, we are adjourned.